Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you guys joining us here on the first episode of The Suicide Survivor. My name is Marcella Cotton, but you guys know me best as Maudie, so I would prefer you guys call me Maudie. And I am 27. I was born June 19th, which is Juneteenth for most people. They know it as the day that the Black people were freed, even though technically speaking, that's not the day that we were freed. But anyways, I was born on Juneteenth. I was born in Sacramento, California, born and raised. So I've always been here. And what I do is I'm a photographer. On the side, technically speaking, I'm a photographer. I'm a social influencer. I like to teach people about the government's laws and how the government operates and what it is we're supposed to be doing in commerce and operating in commerce. But mainly, what I'm doing here is I am a suicide awareness advocate. And that's really where I've been finding my passion at, is talking to people about learning how the government operates or how you operate in the government or with the government, and bringing awareness to suicide. So with that being said, we're going to get on to the why I started this podcast. And it was started to create an open space for people who are trying to cope or learning to cope with suicidal ideations. When I was in seventh grade, I had suicidal ideations, which at the time I didn't really overstand. I say overstand because I am above the government. The government is not above me. I'm the one who tells the government what the government is able to do. It's we the people. So I overstand that when we're young, we're still learning and growing, and we're kind of naive to the situations at hand. So looking back at it, at what my relationships were with people, it was more so me trying to cope still with the suicidal ideations and basically how to cope with the stress of being young, constantly moving around with my mom because we didn't have a set home that I grew up in. I grew up at my grandmother's house. Mostly, that's where I lived most of my days, was at my grandmother's. And every I don't want to say every once in a while, but when my mom did have her own space to live, I was there, but my mom had to work like other parents. So I went to school and I stayed with my grandmother. So most of the time I was with my grandmas. It's my mom's mom and my great grandmother, or my mom's dad, which is my grandpa. So growing up was, I guess, stressful, I should say, because there was a lot of family discombobulation. My dad was not in the home, but he was around. Not as much as I would like him to be around, but I knew of my dad. Let's just leave it at that. You know, deadbeat dads ain't shit. So I was in middle school dealing with suicide. I moved down to Southern California to stay with my dad for a while. That didn't work out as planned. Came back to Sacramento because it was not what I intended. My depression and suicidal ideation started to dwindle down further from there. In high school, I ended up losing the dog that my mother had bought for me. She accidentally ran my dog over. So there was more depression there. I ended up missing a lot of high school from that. I switched schools. Depression still was really bad. Then I graduated and I started to see that what I was going through was depression and suicidal ideations. And I started to do my best to find coping skills and basically seek help for the fact that I had those problems, but I didn't want to get locked in a loony bin. Because when you talk about things like this, people are, first off, they're mandated reporters, and a mandated reporter, Jesus. So, a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about suicide to their therapist because they are mandated reporters. And mandated reporters have to tell people because they want to not only keep their job, but they want people to be safe. And in order for us to be safe, we have to feel we have a safe and comfortable environment to allow yourself to be yourself. And when you're talking with a therapist and you know that they're a mandated reporter, you don't want to tell them certain things because you think you're going to go to crazy people jail, and nobody wants to go to crazy people jail. So we'll be talking about my experience when I went to crazy people jail and other people's experiences with suicidal ideations and stuff like that. I would like to give a couple of shout outs to the people who supported me for not just what I'm doing now, but in my journey of coping, because we're not dealing, you guys, we are coping with our suicidal ideations. So my shout outs would first go to Mario Daniel, because if it wasn't for Mario showing me the amp, no, it wasn't AMP. It was Anchor. It was Anchor FM. If it wasn't for him showing me Anchor, then I would not have learned about online podcasting and starting my own podcast and jumping down this rabbit hole of being here with you guys today to talk about suicide awareness. The other person, or the other people, because I have a small list, would be my husband, because my husband, since I graduated and turned 18, my husband has always been there by my side, helping me learn about my triggers, figuring out my coping skills, and basically being the biggest rock that I've had through the whole entire journey. Not only learning the commercialism laws and how they apply to me as an individual being, but he's been there through everything, and I couldn't appreciate him more. That's one of the biggest rocks that I have, and one of the main reasons why I keep pushing forward. The other person I have is my best friend, Jalaisha Lewis. Hey, boo. She's all the way out in Ohio, and we've been best friends for about 5 years now, and we still have yet to meet. So that's another one of the reasons why I push and strive so hard, because I am looking forward to meeting my best friend. This is going to be an amazing meetup because it's been so long that we've known each other, and we have yet to be able to give each other a hug. And to give each other that hug and that support that we've been giving for the past 5 years over the internet, oh my goodness, when we come together in person, it's going to be like sparks flying and all of this. No. But yeah, I'm really excited to meet my best friend. So talking to you guys and telling you guys about the things that we go through with a long distance relationship and dealing with suicide is going to be one of the things that you guys will be able to hear about. The other person I'd like to give a shout out to is Donovan Kale. This is one of my friends from middle school that I still talk to till this day. Donovan, I appreciate you so much, because if it was not for you in middle school, honestly, I wouldn't have had a chance, because you were the person who I got to speak with and talk to all the time. You were really like the best friend that I've always wanted. You were my brother. Like, honestly, you were my brother, just like this next person I'm going to be shouting out. And if it wasn't for both of you guys being there for me in these detrimental times of need, I probably would not really be here today. And I greatly appreciate that you guys talked with me and you took the time to be my friend. Like, you guys honestly were my friends. And I don't want to say I necessarily miss the relationship. I miss you guys. I miss you. But the relationship of me being depressed and stressed and just like throwing all of that onto who are my friends. I don't want to say I feel bad, but I do feel bad. It's hard. Depression is hard. Suicidal ideations are hard. Life can be hard, you guys. So if you have somebody who's going through anything, reach out to them. Just be there. Just be an ear or a voicemail for them. Like, not like call them and leave a voicemail. No, just like let them talk to you and rant their ear off or your ear off or however. So my last person I'm going to give a shout out to would be Carlos Martin. That is my brother. That's my ace boon coon, y'all. No, for real though, that's my ace boon coon. Like Junior, I love you so much. I love you so much, Junior. You were there for me after my dog died, and you were there for me before my dog died. You have been there for me since high school, and I just appreciate your life. Like, I really do. You bring lots of joy into some of the things that I do. I say some because you're not there for all of them, but you bring lots of joy into some of the things that I do. And I'm definitely looking forward to how my life is going to be. So I'm excited. So we will be I will be dropping every week on Monday a new episode, and they will be talking about coping skills, mainstream advocacy, blah, 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 I can't talk right now, mainstream advocacy websites. And guest speakers, I'll be having guest speakers, and they'll either be talking about their personal experiences with suicidal ideations, or dealing with a person, not dealing with, coping with losing a person through suicide, or just having a healthcare professional or a provider, however you want to say it, here on the show, giving us a little insight about what it is that you're I don't want to say going through, but what you could be going through and how you can cope. So basically, like I said, more coping skills. This is basically a space of learning healthy habits for coping with your suicidal depression, your suicidal ideation, depression, anxiety, and PTSD. So every week, you guys can check on my Instagram. I will have a NGL link that people can drop anonymous messages that either maybe you want me to talk about on the podcast, or something that you're going through and you just want me to share. Basically, you guys can drop little notes and I'll talk about them every week here on Monday. And you guys can make sure you follow and subscribe so you're getting all the goody stuff from this taboo talk. I am wrapping up this first episode, so I appreciate you guys listening. You guys can follow me on my personal Instagram page. The links should be in the description or all around the podcast. You should be able to find it. This podcast should be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasting, and YouTube. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to be posting on my story in that link. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about my past experiences and what I do to cope. And honestly, I'm just envisioning a whirlwind of grand stuff coming soon. So, thank you guys for being here, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week on Monday.